Today, we're going to introduce you to annuities. Annuities are very, very important in our in our world, in that what it provides you basically is an income. Okay, most people, cash flow is the biggest problem they have. We always refer to the fact that we have a great deal of debt and everything else. But really, is we should be looking at also is what is our cash flow. And so what annuities are designed to do basically is to give you that cash flow on an ongoing basis. So annuities tend to be also very, very much guaranteed. You don't have to worry about failure of a company or whatever the case may be, because these products are really designed to give you a steady flow of income. We're going to look at a whole bunch of different kinds of situations in a moment. But in essence, annuities is exactly that. Now, the word annuity really comes from the word annual. In other words, it's an annual payment. That does not mean that you can only get a check once a year. Today, of course, we can do it monthly, quarterly, whichever way that you want. But the genesis, the original aspect of an annuity was that it was an annual payment. So that's where you get the word annuity, basically. There are two big areas of annuities, what we call two main types of annuities. And we need to look at both of those in detail because they operate a little bit differently. The first one is what we refer to as an immediate annuity. So in an immediate annuity, basically what you've got is you've got a bag of money, you might say. So this is not something that you're saving up to, so to speak. You already have the money. You've got a big bag of money. And you come to the insurance company and say, here's my big bag of money, and I would like you to give me an income for a period of time. And we'll look at that in a moment as well, okay? So basically here what we've got is you've got money on deposit. Here's my big bag of money, $500,000, whatever it is that I've got. And now what I want you to do is provide for me basically an income for whatever. But that income, and why they're called immediate, is that income has to start within a year of deposit. So the word immediate basically means that it is an immediate situation. That immediate being that the income must start within 365 days. Like I said, most of them start a month later anyways, so they all fall into that category. Okay? And along that immediate annuity, there's different kinds of immediate annuities as well. There's the level, in other words, it is consistent. Every single month, for example, I'm going to give you a check for $5,000. Okay, so there it is. It's level. Every single month, religiously, we're going to basically wire into your bank account $5,000. So that's a level payment, and you're going to get it for whatever period of time that we've agreed to. Okay. If you're concerned about inflation, you can also buy, of course, an indexed annuity. So you say, okay, $5,000 is great. However, inflation erodes the purchasing power. I'd like to have it indexed according to consumer price index, or 2%, 3%, whatever that number happens to be. So you can also buy an indexed annuity that will maintain its purchasing power. And you can also buy a variable annuity. A variable annuity is not very popular in Canada. The level one is the most popular one. Second to that would be the index. Variable one, basically, it varies according to market conditions. So it may turn around and provide you with a bottom line, sort of a minimum guarantee, you might say. Again, product that we'll look at in the future, sort of a minimum guarantee that you're going to get. Okay, but the actual the annuity could vary according to market conditions and everything. So in Canada, it's not very popular, but you should be aware that they do exist as well. Okay. So along with that immediate annuity, the other big arm of annuity is what we refer to as a deferred annuity. Now, deferred annuity basically is the exact opposite to immediate annuity. The deferred annuity says, here's my bag of money, but hang on to it. I don't need the money until 5 years from now, 10 years from now, whatever. In other words, I want to invest that money with you, but I don't actually need an income. Whereas this one here, you said, yeah, I do need cash flow within that year. Okay, the deferred annuity says, here's my money, hang on to it, and then we'll look at it 5 years down the line. So for example, a GIC that all of you are familiar with, that's essentially a deferred annuity. In fact, insurance companies don't actually theoretically sell GICs. They actually sell deferred annuities. So it's a 5-year deferred annuity, basically. So you give me a bag of money, I hang on to that bag of money for 5 years. At the end of the 5 years, I give you back your money along with whatever the future value was of the interest rates growing and everything else. Okay, and so that's your two fundamental differences between immediate and deferred. And again, we're going to look deeper into both of those in subsequent sessions and everything. But for now, let's take a look at some of the things that impact both these situations, whether they be immediate, deferred, whether it's level, whether it's index and all that. There's a commonality here in terms of what is it that in actual fact impacts the annuity itself. In other words, what are the factors that impact? Obviously, the most common one, of course, is the interest rate. Today, for example, we live in a very low interest rate environment, so obviously you're not going to get as much money because the interest rates are very, very low. So interest rates are a major factor for annuities. And remember that when we're dealing with annuities, we are looking at long-term investments. And so therefore, wherever we invest your money in has to be able to, that interest rates maintained for a very long period of time and everything. So interest rates for annuities tend to be very conservative because of the longevity aspect of it. Of course, how old you are, your age is very important. Obviously, if you're buying an annuity and you're age 70, your life expectancy is very short. So obviously that will have a major impact as to the amount of money you're going to get. On the other hand, if you're buying an annuity and you're 30 years old, for example, your life expectancy is far longer. So therefore, because we have to pay for a longer period of time, let's say, then obviously your age is going to be a major factor. The next one is gender. We know statistically that females live longer than men. Okay, it's a simple fact, right? So therefore, for the same deposit, and even for the same age, so let's say you're both 60 years old, so you and your spouse are both 60 years old, and you both have $500,000. In other words, everything's the exact same thing, except that one's female and one's male. The female is going to end up getting less money per month. You, as the male, are going to get more money for the same deposit. Why? Because your life expectancy is certainly much less. Usually 4 to 7 years sort of difference between a female and a male. So because we're going to pay out longer period of time, then obviously they're going to get less money. So the gender is very important. The deposit. How much money you give me. Obviously, the more money you give me, the more money I can give you back as well. The longer the money will last, things of that nature there, okay? So many times on some annuities, there is a minimum amount of deposit that you must make in order for an annuity to actually be issued and everything. So the amount of money you got on deposit will also be a major factor as to how much money you're going to get on a monthly basis or yearly basis, however, okay? The payout. How much money do you want? All right. So sometimes you may say, well, yeah, you give me a quote and it's $4,000 is what you're quoting me, but I really need $5,000. So what do we do? Okay. So obviously that's going to be so if you need more than what I'm quoting you, then I have to rejuggle this basically. So I may have to adjust, payout period of time. I may have to adjust the amount of deposit. I may have to do some adjustments in order to meet that particular requirement. So certainly the amount of money that you want, the pay schedule itself, will be obviously an impact. And I should mention also too that if you have a monthly payout, you're going to get less than if you say, no, well, I only want it annually. So if you say to me that the payout is an annual basis, then I can do more stuff. In other words, I have the money for a longer period of time. So because I have that money for a longer period of time, I obviously will then reward you better. Whereas if you tell me I want it every single month for the same deposit, I'm not going to give you as much money. So once again, budgeting, important. Quarterly payments, semi-annual payments. So the longer the money stays with the company, the more money I can actually give you. But if you were asking me to give you a check immediately, so to speak, then obviously the payment is going to be less. So the payout is very important. And of course, the length of time is an issue. If it's only going to be for 20 years, then obviously it will be Y dollars, let's say, whatever. But if it's going to be 30 years, it'll be X dollars for the same deposit. So the length of time is also an issue. So it goes back to age and gender, for example. So the female lives longer, so obviously she's going to get less. Okay, what's the same situation here? If you're buying one for 20 years, it'll be a certain amount of money. But if you say, no, I need it for 30 years for the same deposit, same interest rate and everything, but now I'm going to pay out for an extra 10 years, obviously I'm not going to be able to give you as much money. And so all these factors here are major components of how much money is actually what the cash flow is going to be at some point. So in a subsequent session, we'll be talking more deeply about these situations.